Evening, everybody. Welcome back to Football Bloody Hell. Tonight, I've got on with me not just Karl, but I've got two returning guests. PC is back again, and Sean Guiden is back after a while. How we doing, boys?
Doing well, mate. Doing well.
Good, mate. Not bad. It's been a while.
Has been, mate. You have a good New Year in that?
Fantastic, right? Yeah, back down home for a little bit, so that was nice over Christmas and that, and yeah, quiet. I think everyone I've spoken to has just said, "Oh yeah, quiet." How about you?
Same,
too much.
Mine was quiet with this gentleman here. So
yeah, it was that for you two. Yeah, you did. It was quiet for me having my nieces me playing Just Dance on Nintendo Switch at Christmas Day. I was really exhausted.
Oh, mate, I went up to my sister's at Christmas Day, right, and I was already like 2 sheets to the wind. By the time Paul came up to my sister's, I was through fully 3 sheets, gone, and got home in Boxing Day at 10:30 to my dad's. 10:30 in the morning. And then an absolute sesh. And then I was stuck with it. Me and him were stuck together at New Year, so, which wasn't a bad thing. I mean, good things have came out of it now.
Aye, because I messaged half of the West Lothian music scene asking to come on the podcast. That was, it was decent.
But let's get right into the football, boys. Right in. And, Karl, we're going to come straight to your lot because you're beat by one of the worst teams in the fucking league, mate.
Yeah,
fucking Newcastle, mate.
Listen,
you must be shit.
I was on one of the Newcastle fan YouTube doing the match preview last week, and I have not been back on that since then. Okay, so let me just get that one out. Let me just get that one out of the way. Second, I spoke about this last night on the Premier League review with Steve Stubbs and Jamie Phillips. I said to them, look, I think because lacking up front, we're just not clinical enough. We have so many chances, we're not clinical, especially with Dan James, who can't even play as a false nine. He can't even play as a false nine. You know, the only recognised striker we had was Rigo, and then Joe Gelhardt was on the bench. But my word, Newcastle just Shelby just really that free kick. I don't know how Mezia did not save that properly. That fucking frustrates me a bit when I'm like, yeah, it just we were supposed to be better than that. And I don't know why it's now. I feel like we're still in a relegation zone. I never said we were out of it properly, but I felt, but back in my mind, thought we're still kind of in it in any way, despite we were 3 points ahead. It just depends how we do well from the second half of the season.
Yeah. So, but because we said like last week's podcast didn't go out because when I downloaded it, went on to upload, and I was like, this is a bag of shite. Everything's everywhere. The sound's distorted as anything. But I'd said, oh, that'll be Leeds sorted, Ken. They've beat West Ham, that'll be them climbing up. Straight back down to earth. Straight back down to earth. Just
that's kind of similar to what I said as well, because I had Leeds and Newcastle both teams to score.
Wait, everyone did.
My betting's right back down to earth. Like, not happening. So.
You know, I think everyone did actually. And when I looked at the betting back at my workplace, it had a few more people betting for the least more goals over 3.5. We didn't get that, so 2.5, 3.5. So we didn't get that. So yeah, it was a bit frustrating with that one.
Definitely, especially when it's one out of 2 teams that let you down there for 5 games. We'll move on to that because I'll get PTSD.
Just keep going, man. We'll keep going into the Jambos, man. 2 back-to-back wins since we last spoke, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? It's like I said, we're being the game back first week back after the being away for winter break. Probably was a good time for us because we were a little bit inconsistent, a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, we'll start slowly. But I think after getting the final win in the Scottish FA Cup as well, it's been used. And I think we knew that we had to get rid of. So one of our strikers, generally, is gone. He's now left. He's gone back to France. I think getting Ellis on loan from Everton, it's okay for now.
I've just seen that.
As cover. So I think if he gets some good chances, you know, playing along with But boys, yeah. Then I hopefully that will try to solidify staying in the top between the top three.
Yeah, because we're right on your heels now.
You are absolutely
Right on your heels. No, because we were talking. Me and Paul were talking to Liam Corbett for the This Is My Story podcast, and he thinks Arsenal gets third this year just because of the gap between third and sort of fourth to sixth.
Yeah, it will be close. It's going to be close.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on the likes of Hibs and Aberdeen and Motherwell. You know how we get on. Because I think it's out of those three that are going to challenge. I think the bottom six have sorted themselves.
Yeah,
sorry, Paul.
Yeah,
We'll get
sorry,
into
Paul.
that. We'll get into that.
Sorry, Paul.
It's all right. We'll get into that.
In fairness, I think that'd be it'd be an amazing season, all things considered, for Hearts, because I think that one of the first podcasts I did on here was just after Hearts had beat Celtic first game of the season. And the following couple of weeks after that, I remember Karl saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think originally it was, if they were to finish seventh, it wouldn't be a bad season. Maybe make the split would be good, but to now be looking at, a charge into the second half of the season to finish third is probably the very, very, very best it possibly could have been going into the season.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that. I think what at the moment is as well what we've done. I think because we had to realise keeping the squad as small as we can because we know we trusted some of the players that we had. I know we'll get one or two more additions by the end of the window, but I think I'm happy for what we've done with our business at the moment. One thing I do have to worry about is how we go forward from there on next year.
What's a goal?
What's a nil Celtic?
I'm sorry, Karl, to interrupt you, but that's an absolute screamer from Ateta.
Has he done it again? Has he?
He's got a ball on wide to Jota, and you're sort of thinking, square it. He's got to go. Jota's completely unmarked. He's about 25 yards out, and he's just rifled it into the back of the net. He's got space on his left to be fair, Craig Gordon's got an absolute hole in him, and for some reason his left arm's disappeared like a FIFA glitch, but it's still really, really, really well destroyed.
Some of that happened to us at him.
Looking at that, there's not going to be a Hearts fan in the world that isn't going to be extremely disappointed that he hasn't saved that because of the way it's gone completely through his hand. But the power that's on the ball, and it just hasn't moved. It's just laser accurate. But it's one of them where you're screaming for him to pass, and he's took it on out of nowhere. But it's the first. It wasn't. I mean, it's the first bit of space that either team's really had in the final third. And it's not really a chance. He's 25 yards out. It's a shot at goal, but it's not a clear-cut chance, as you'd say. But there hasn't been much in it other than that, really, to be honest.
Yeah, not the point. And I did feel that this is going to be a different Celtic side to when we first played in at the start at home. I knew this was going to be a different Celtic side who are very more attacking than I've seen the last couple, towards the end of the first half of the season. So, I'm not surprised how Celtic have just been scoring goals for fun. And we knew that what we were coming into. So
yeah, I think that's the thing. I think the winter break and with things being extended and the game against Rangers not happening and then dropping points over Christmas, it became a conversation that the cup final was huge. But the game a few days later was...
I'm not going to talk about that game. I'm still very fucking bitter.
But the league game a few days after is even bigger. And then when you go into that winter break, all eyes are on Celtic and Rangers. Do not drop points until that game. And then obviously with things being moved, it's been that extended period of, to be honest, just quite intense nerves because you're going into every game knowing that dropping points makes that game even bigger for either side. Is one going to pull away or is one going to catch up? And, at the African Cup of Nations and with injuries and stuff like that and internationals, you worried then looking at that date of the second thinking, who's either team really, who you're going to have, who can you guarantee being there? You've got another couple of games in between it. It's more chance for injury. So games like tonight, it's a really tough place to go to, and I think that where Celtic have sort of shot themselves in the foot away from home, especially this season, is just haven't been attacking enough. Just haven't decided to go out and take the game. And when you look at Rangers going to Hearts, they're 2-0 up in about 10 minutes or so. It's because you play as a home side away. You know, you go and attack the ball. Sometimes you have to be a bit ruthless, and it'd be nice to see Celtic do a lot more of that.
The only time I've seen Celtic do that was at Easter Road.
Yeah,
where you absolutely destroyed us.
Yeah.
Don't get wrong, we were fucking awful.
You're coming out of that one, you're almost disappointed that you haven't scored more. You know, you got to do similar things when you go away to, you know, dropping points at St John's, St Mirren, you know, nearly dropping points at Ross County. And it's because it's a bit too conservative. It's a bit too tippy-tappy and we'll take a late chance. Sometimes you've just got to get in there and see, you know, buy a ticket, really.
Yeah, how have you seen the transition, Ange? Because I know a lot of you love him. I mean, I love him, and I'm a Hibs fan. I love the way he talks about the game.
Yeah, I mean, I've sort of was one of these where he wasn't a big name, but then I'm not an Eddie Howe fan at all. I think I said that on here before. I don't like him, don't rate him, don't. So it wasn't a massive blow for me. So when somebody comes in unknown, especially after last season, it was a case of all you can do is hope that he physically brings the best player that he's ever managed. And he's done that. He's hit the ground running. He's not stood for the shit off the media. He's often turned around, you know, when he's asked about ticketing allocations before Leverkusen, you know, he's not scared to turn around and say, why don't you ask me a question about the game? Yeah. He's now gone and brought 3 more players that he feels up there with the best that he's managed. So you can't really ask for any more than that. And his style of football, it's a little bit scary at the back, but it's getting there. But going forward, it's just pleasing to go out and kill teams off, really. It's not just about getting that one goal or nicking games 1-0 or just, you know, having 20 shots a game. It's nice to see the end product that he's trying to control from the middle. So I think that was what was lacking last season, was that bit of oomph in the team, a bit of get up and go. And I think that's the biggest thing for the transition into it, that you see with this Celtic side, that they're not afraid to have a go, but there is still a few, you know, square pegs and square holes and all that need to happen yet to make it a finished article. But, you know, it's gone better than I think 90% of people thought it would have. You know, a lot of people would have thought he'd be gone by Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, so.
No, 100%. See, just looking at it, like style of play and all that, I just think it's day and night. The way he's revitalised, you know, Karl McGregor, the amount of abuse he got last year. And, you know, he's taking that.
Was not fair to him, to be quite honest.
No, it wasn't fair to him, because he's been 7 out of 10 since he got in that Celtic team for me.
Yeah.
And being, you know, last season even, I was quite lucky. I got to watch a lot of Celtic last year. Right. And I still thought he was the best player at Celtic last year in a piss poor team. I think some of the shrewd signings, some of the signings have been really shrewd by Ange. I mean, Joe Hart, people thought, oh, it's Joe Hart. No. He was England number 1 for a fucking reason. Like, he was the best keeper in England for a while. He's played at Man City for how long? You know. So, and he gets it. He gets it as well with Celtic. Like,
there's a reason why keepers can play to 40 as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
The reason why keepers keep up there, I think, you know, your footballing brain as a goalkeeper, from what you're watching, you know, the footwork when they're, you know, playing out from the back might not be the best all the time, but I was really happy when Hart was getting signed, because I thought it's stability, and that's all people wanted last season, was stability in goal. To not, you know, between Barkas, Spain, Hazard, like on their day, you know, I might sound really harsh on Barkas here, but Bain and Hazard, they did a job at times in what they needed to do. But it got to a point last year where you had no idea who your number 1 was that week. And that's worrying as a football fan. If you don't know, you know, you might not know who's going to play on the left wing or the right wing, but to not know who the fuck's going to play in goal is worrying.
Building blocks,
to have such a and it's not even. You look at everything he does around the team to have such experience in there and an older head and someone who fits the sort of personality that you can imagine is in the dressing room.
Yeah,
that goes a long way as well. 2-0.
What? 2-0 already?
2-0.
This is the normal. By the way, just like to introduce Karl to the normal lying down to the old firm from Hearts. Normal service has resumed, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the Greek boy who I promise I can pronounce his name, but I'm just not going to on this one occasion.
Jana Kupol or something. I'm going to go with Jana Kupol or something.
He scored a...
he needs a goal as well.
It's a back heel. It's a hell of a bit of skill on the 6-yard box, but just again, this is what we're talking about. It's putting a ball into them areas. When you see it yourselves, he's putting a ball right across the throat of the goalkeeper onto the 6-yard box and saying, "Go and attack that, then, son.
Go and get it. Go and
get it." What you can't ask for any more at this point. Whether it's Kyogo, whether it's anybody there, whether it's any striker in the side there, you can only ask them to go.
You can only put the ball in, innit? You can only put that ball in there. I've seen sort of similar with Hibs against Cove, right? Now, one of the most frustrating games you'll ever watch in your life, right? But we kept putting the ball in. You know, Cadden and Doig, we kept putting the ball in, we kept putting the ball in there. And eventually, Nisbet took the chance. You know what I mean? As much as he's been poor for the last 12 months, you could see the goal coming. It was a bit of a predator goal, if anyone's seen it. The cross and the goal. I know it was like 113 minutes, but I went over Paul Hartley's.
Oh, the goal against Cove? Yeah,
aye,
it was a typical striker's finish.
Aye, like
waiting on the edge of the 6-yard box to tap it on, yeah.
It's what you pay it's why strikers and attacking midfielders get paid all the money in the world, because it's the hardest job in the world, isn't it? And just on Celtic, man, you got to say rest in peace to Wim Jansen yesterday. Aye. Horrible news, man. Yeah. It's the man who stopped Rangers winning 10. What a great man.
He was the last one. Because they realised, I know Rangers thought they would have done it, but I didn't know he was the manager. Yeah.
Also brought Henrik Larsson.
King of Kings.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because Larsson, Di Canio, and also Di Canio, wasn't it? Was Di Canio there as well too that season as well when you had
Sean better than me.
97, 98.
Season before.
No, that was Cadet.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, Di Canio would have been. Was Di Canio around the Ian Wright sort of time as well?
Aye.
Yeah, just around there. Yeah.
But no, just. I mean, I was at his first ever Celtic game, Wim Jansen at Easter Road, and Chip Charnley scored from, I don't know, 30, 40 yards at Easter Road. And I mean, it's always on a highlight reel when we play Celtic. And it's Henrik Larsson's first touch in Scottish football as a stray pass to Chip Charnley.
Yeah, Paul is my missus dad often says that he stray pass that night. It was, where's the receipt? So someone find the receipt and imagine now. But yeah, crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. Yeah. Larsson as a whole, you know, where he went on to, what he won, just that whole package. It's incredible.
I mean, I don't think there was a fan in Scottish football that didn't think he was one of the greatest players we've ever seen up here.
Very little.
And if you are, you're blind, or you're. Choose my words here. You're a bigot. If you didn't think that. Even you hear Rangers fans saying it.
Or you've lived into your hundreds and you just happen to have seen the likes of Kenny Douglas in his prime, and you know.
But even then, like come on,
Dennis Law, etc.
My dad's down the stairs. He's seen the lot, man. He's seen George Best, so. But even he said Larsson was a different gravy. See, even on Celtic, me and my dad watched the Betis game where you scored, I don't know how many goals in 5 minutes or something.
Aye, it was okay.
No, the one away.
No, the one at home.
Oh, the home. Sorry, yeah.
even my dad says, like, this is what it's like supposed to be like watching Celtic.
Yeah, quite a frustrating Europa League campaign that is when you look back on that to have take 2 goals there, goals at home, good results, and still miss out.
Yeah, it was
Even away at Leverkusen to chuck it away there, and mad like it could have been 2-0 up before Leverkusen even scored a goal at Celtic Park as well.
I know.
So many missed opportunities in that Europa League, and the annoyance of it now is Ferencváros was brilliant to see a full stadium at 3:00 midweek, and it was nice to get the win. But you're sort of celebrating going into a competition you really don't want to be in.
Yeah.
The greatest of respects, but for my thinking now would just be go and be the first ever team to win it.
Yeah,
go and throw everything at it and see how far you can get in the first ever year of it.
Right, I've got a thing in my head for this. Right, you're going to get Leicester in the final, and you're going to show Brendan Rodgers what a fucking fraud he is. Because I've said, how much have I said, Karl? We've got a group chat. Me, Karl, and
a lot.
A couple of lads, and I fucking hate Brendan Rodgers. He's a fraud.
Yeah.
He's right. He done well at Celtic. Do you want to know something? He walked into an already brilliant Celtic side, by the way, and added a couple of players.
I think the dominance of that team, like even game by game, it must have been the easiest job in the world. You're managing Monday to Friday your players' heads, because when they went out onto the pitch, I'm sure he'd probably say himself that he didn't really have to do anything. And that was probably the best thing ever for him, that he did whatever he did in the week, and then he just let them go and express themselves over the weekend. And the results they brought back were better and better every time.
Yeah,
true. And I've got a thing against Brendan Rodgers. I fucking hate him.
I think he'll be sacked by the end of the season. For what Douglas was telling me today, I feel like he's going to be sacked because they've been so poorly. They've been so poor this season, Leicester. And now they're not going to finish in the top 6. Now that's done. That is all done with. But I think he will get the sack. Don't be surprised.
I think he'll get the end of the season. They won the FA Cup last year.
That's the thing. That Leicester job is a difficult job, because certainly when I was growing up, and I have a personal vendetta against Leicester, because I have that typical football fan story of that one time a team really hurt you, and it was probably the first time I ever really felt it when they beat us 1-0 just after the La Manga scandal, and Les Ferdinand scored, and it just really got me that day. I think it was about 8 or 9, and that Leicester job, and especially as I'm saying, growing up, they were always there or thereabouts us. They're very similar. Might have been up in the Premier League in a few good seasons and dropped back down or whatnot. I remember going there the one championship season, and they were all but relegated to League One. Now, obviously, since the world decided to have a complete freak incident and then win the Premier League, with the money that they've got and with the investment, with the facilities, with the sort of worldwide name that they now will be because of modern day football, it's really difficult for a manager there, because what are their season goals? What is a good season for them? Because they have won the league and they've won the FA Cup. They had a good run in the Champions League.
Yeah.
They're not quite done it in the obviously Europa League. Is that an aspiration, going in the Europa League?
It's a horrible competition.
That must
no English team wants to win it.
That must be really difficult for Rodgers there, because should we be looking at Leicester as a top 4 team, given that Arsenal is shite?
No, not at the moment. You don't.
No.
Right. They're good players, but as a top 4, they missed out twice. You can't do that. If you have a chance to finish in the top 4, you need to finish it in the way.
Yeah, you're right.
And I look at 2 years ago, right, when Man United brought in Bruno Fernandes, right, we were miles off. And he literally just went, right, see yous, on my back, we're going. And, we beat Leicester on the last day of that year. Yeah, Jesse Lingard hadn't played all season. He danced around Schmeichel, put it in the back of the net. And then he done it the season after. I mean, he was 15 points ahead of whoever finished 4th and still plateaued. And I think that's where Leicester fans are getting on their goat about it. I know they won the FA Cup last year, but it's a huge thing for them to win the FA Cup. But I think it's still great to win the FA Cup. I want Man United to win the FA Cup this year, but I don't know where as you're saying, Sean, where's the aspirations of this club?
Especially when they're doing expansion, and also they got a huge, big training ground as well. So where is the club going? And I will say, and I wouldn't be surprised, for example, if Rodgers does get the second of the season. Maybe we'll see. The only person I can think of one day can do a better job than that is you have to go down to Brighton to try and poach Graham Potter, because if you want someone else who's going to try to push you to the next level, well, at the next level, it may be a bit of a step up job. See how Potter does at this so-called big six, and then hopefully if he does do well less than the next couple of years, he will go manage a bigger team. Maybe Manchester United at some point in a couple of years' time. Who knows?
That's the thing as well. You go and get Graham Potter, and he comes back to wear a Leicester, because you're going to bring Graham Potter in, who most likely his season aspirations at Brighton are to have a good cup run, finish in the top half of the Premier League. Whereas at Leicester, if they are wanting top four football, he's the bridge of that gap. I'm sure he's got it in his managerial locker, and that might be there. But it could go the completely opposite way, couldn't it? Sometimes certain managers, very much like Eddie Howe, certain managers suit certain teams. Whether they change that team, whether there's new faces come in, whether the team dynamic changes, certain managers just work at certain places. And I think Eddie Howe is very much that at Bournemouth. And I think that would obviously be the risk as to where do Leicester go and what is the next level for Leicester, because I think this is what alluded to months and months ago, and I promised I said I wouldn't tell you that I told you so I'm not going to do that now. But when we spoke about Leeds, and I said something just isn't right at Leeds, and that's the thing, where's that next level? Because Leeds had got back to the Premier League, had a good season last year, and it's these teams in the Premier League that seem to find that next bit, and that's why teams like Arsenal, because that structure's been in place for 15, 20 years, they'll always be there or thereabouts. But
Chelsea and all that are the same.
Like for me, Leicester are only, one of the bit bad seasons maybe away from getting relegated. Realistically, they could have the same way Burnley will eventually drop. Newcastle are finding that out now.
Yeah.
So like a team like Leicester, it's such a poison chalice in that respect. But yeah, you're right. I think Graham Potter's going to be the name on everybody's lips, really, isn't it?
Pretty much so, yeah. Pretty much. The only name I could think of Leicester could get, and that we spoke about a few weeks ago, is the Nice coach who was at Lille last season, won the league, Christophe Galtier, who'd probably be a bigger name that could fit that Leicester style, that what he plays. Because some of these players are now at Leicester. Samari, Bakay Samari is at Leicester. If he wasn't, discuss at Lille, he would be still at Lille. So, that is
Man United, to be fair.
Yeah. So that is pretty much two big names I can think of at the moment that can manage to jump at Leicester. It's Graham Potter on this list.
You've always got that dangle of Lampard, haven't you?
Oh, I can't listen. I've watched the conversation with Victor Pereira, spoke with Sky Sports News today.
Yeah, I seen that before I came on. Don't understand that, man.
No, I don't.
He's not even been appointed yet.
He still doesn't. He doesn't have it anymore. Yes, he won 2 league titles at Porto, but he doesn't have it anymore. He's lost that credibility. So, and he's been linked to the job twice. That's 3 times. But you going for Lampard, or just give the job to Big Dunk till the end of the season. That is how I want to do it.
Big mad Dunk knocking everyone out.
That's what.
But you saying track. 0-0 at Fir Park at half time.
Also 0-0 at Ibrox.
Come on!
Good for now, yeah.
However, Stefan Opionga's on a bookie.
Dude,
Please, football and going.
Stefan Opionga.
Don't give him a second one. Please don't give him a second one.
It's at Ibrox, he probably will, mate. That's where penalty Rangers comes in, eh?
Oh, fucking man likely.
Bound to happen at some point, isn't it?
When was it? I actually said it. It's a couple of weeks ago. I was at Karl's, right? And they're like, oh, it's 0-0. And I was like, oh, they'll probably get a penalty. 2 seconds later, pops up Sky Sports. Penalty to Rangers. And I was just like, I shouldn't have said fucking anything.
What did he say about John Soto? That came out.
Mate, I told you that That's no.
I know you told me
word of a
that.
lie, right?
I know you told me that. Okay, it's
The week before he's went and done the dirty on Hearts. I'm saying to him, if I'm John Souttar, I'm going to Rangers because you can still get a move down south. You do well at Rangers for a year or two.
Yeah, that is true. But I wish he's still not in the starting lineup right now because we're all in this. We all still booing him. That's no doubt about that.
No, get that fuck, man.
I know we need to get rid of him.
I'm not for that. No,
I don't know why
Robin
Nielsen is. I don't know why Robin Nielsen.
I'm not for booing your own players, man, because you don't boo your own regardless of what's going on. He's still going to get 100% for us.
Yeah,
well, I'm not going to sell him.
Yeah, but okay, I'll give you an example. So when the post-season split at the end, nearly the end of May or something like that, if we play against Rangers on the last day of the season, and somehow Celtic, but the thing is here, that's exactly right. If we played it and he scores a winning goal against Rangers, Celtic wins the title. That means if Celtic's still involved in the title race, what do you do? Because I think he'll have a lot of stink when he gets to Rangers with his good joy.
I'm going to tell you what happens, right? See, at Easter Road and at Parkhead, there's pandemonium, right? There's pandemonium because Celtic win the league, and everyone in Leith are pissing themselves laughing. In fact, the rest of the SPL will probably piss themselves laughing.
Yeah, well, you know what? That would be Sean's best breeze now, you know, if that did happen. You know.
It'd be unreal.
Just saying the obvious. It could happen one way or the other.
Yeah.
Or it could go full Shane Duffy, what Shane Duffy done when he was at Blackburn. Turn around and say, if you don't sell me, I'm going to start scoring on goals. You know.
Once a player doesn't want to play for a club, though, a player doesn't want to play for a club. I saw this at Birmingham with Robbie Savage. You know, Savage got to a point where he wanted to go and play for Blackburn Rovers under Mark Hughes. Mm-hmm. And there was 100 different things that came out. But ultimately, he came out and he said, I want to be closer to my mum and dad. Now, geographically, Birmingham was closer to his mum and dad than Blackburn. And that was found out when obviously people had a little look into it and said, well, hang on a minute, that's not true. So he hasn't thought that through very well. They dropped into the reserves and Sky Sports covered a Blues reserve game for Sky Sports News. And there was banners, there was everything else. The facts were, it got to a point where he just did not want to be there. And he had to go. And he was a player like Robbie Savage cannot hide when they're not giving 100%. Because the whole game is based on giving 100%. A few months later, he comes back to Blues for Blackburn Rovers and equalises in the 88th minute. And he starts running around the pitch. He runs around the back of the goal. He runs to the Blackburn fans. And that was probably the biggest dagger that could have ever happened to Blues fans, because when a player leaves and you call him all the names under the sun, you still look back with very fond memories. You know, he was in that time, he was part of the team that did the couple of doubles over the Villa. He was obviously in a very heated discussion with Dion Dublin. He was a talisman at that point. So for him to celebrate was horrible. But what was probably worse for him was the fact we got a winner 2 minutes later. The right ditch.
At its finest.
Yeah, and then it got even worse for him because then when he ran down the tunnel, Kenny Cunningham was behind the corner waiting for him. A man that you're absolutely not going to ever... You never wanted to fuck with Kenny Cunningham.
Kenny Cunningham was one of the players you didn't fuck with. Yeah.
But it's quite a well-known story now, but it is brilliant that the sort of parting words to it after a few digs and stuff were thrown was that there was kids in the stadium, there was families, there was people that loved him. And that was how he repaid it. And I think Savage has told that himself before over time in interviews that he just lost his head in a moment and he never thought about the fact that, okay, I'm going to get booed. Okay, said certain things, but there were people in the ground that really did it. I mean, he was there for, a good few seasons. He picked himself on that team sheet every week. And he's...
Wind up merchant money.
Oh, God, yeah. And he's someone that you never wanted to play against him. You're always glad that he was in your team, and you'd probably hate him if he played for anybody else. But
Ferguson didn't hate that in '92, did he?
It's just no. He's one of the famously that missed out in that class of '92, didn't he? But I mean, it's just a difficult one, isn't it? That what do you do with these?
I thought he was on. I thought he was on.
Yeah.
See, for what he was good at, he was fucking brilliant. Like dirty challenges, he could pass the ball. Like he literally could pass the ball. But there's a famous story, Martin O'Neill saying, "Do not pass the ball to fucking Savage, or you're going to get your arse kicked." And what does someone do? Pass the ball to Savage, and I think it was at half time. It was like, "What the fuck did I tell you to do? Do not pass the ball to Bobby Savage." And I think that's just hilarious with that, because he could play. Like he actually could play. He's one of the Premier League OG midfielders, isn't he? Outside the likes of Keane, Vieira, and all that, he's one of those old midfielders that always kicked about. Because I remember him at Leicester before he went to Blues, and then also went Blackburn. Did he go back to Blues?
No, he went
to Derby.
Derby, yeah.
I think that, if I'm not mistaken, was that where he retired at? He was quite famously only walked off a pitch in nothing but a pair of Y fronts because he'd given every other stitch of clothing into the Derby fans. I think that was his last.
Yeah.
I think he retired there. But again, he was just one of them players, and that's sort of my experience of a player where when you knew he didn't want to play for you, and you just how do you sort of stop yourself booing him, even though he's wearing your cleats. He's a difficult one. It's hard because that player wants out your club. He doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, I think we've all had it. We've all had it at our clubs. So which players want to go, and you just got to let them go. You can do what you want them, but you got to let them go. But we're going to move on to Paul's joy, because if I'm right, you're unbeaten since you came back from the break, Paul. Am I correct?
Yep. Both clean sheets. So both the wins. That was if I recall correctly, a certain Hibernian.
Listen, you've done us a great favour. I'm going to say he's done us a great favour in getting rid of the Scottish Eddie Howe and Jack Ross.
And
good point, actually.
So.
Yeah, you ended the break well and came back from it really well.
This is actually quite a good point to start on, but my group chat with the boys for the football in our section, Fitzwater has been very good tonight. 10 million he'll be worth now.
Well, if it's Newcastle, you just put another zero on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have heard, but
yeah, we've heard.
Jack Fitzwater has been estimated to be worth 1 million by Newcastle, Watford, and I can't remember who Watford was. Burnley, that's it. And I think the infamous statement is, "Your chauffeur is here." But he's not a bad. Don't get me wrong, he's not a bad player. He's not Cannavaro, but then again, he's not your Sunday League centre half who's half cut. But he has moments. Like tonight, people are saying he's doing really, really well, and the chances are he'll be doing really well because he's playing one of the top sides in the league. As soon as you play against a St Mirren or an out of form Aberdeen or
just shite,
and he just does things that centre halves just shouldn't do. So, for example, like covering the left or right winger's position, things like that.
Yeah, I've watched Paul Hanlon for 10.
Fullback.
Paul, I've watched Paul Hanlon at Hibs the last couple of years, mate. I know how you feel.
Aye. And then when he goes up for a fly header at a corner or a free kick, and then he goes, "Oh, missed it." He does a wee gentle jog back, and then he's playing against people like, I don't know, like Aribo for Rangers, fast in the break, and he's just like, I'll just let him go. Fine. He has moments like that. Then he'll also have moments where he's like dashing the park, wins clean tackles, repossesses the ball, reshapes the position that we're in. We're off the attack. Bailey's away with it, which is what happened against Dundee. He was outstanding. He was great.
Mm-hmm. His stats are outstanding, mate, this season. For interceptions, tackles, duels won, and all that. He's in the top 5 of the league, and just about everything.
Mm-hmm. another thing as well, a couple of people in the chat have said it's not a penalty, but apparently we had a shout for a penalty in the first half.
You're not getting it at Ibrox, mate. It doesn't matter.
Oh, definitely.
No.
Unless it's 2 feet in the neck, it's not happening.
Even then, you might struggle, to be fair.
Exactly. Mate, that's a cuddle. That's a cuddle in Govan.
And Govan out, it's definitely a yeah, I suppose I better start trying to learn how to pronounce this guy's name, because I've been trying for the past 2 weeks that he's been in discussion. Like, his first name, I've nailed it. It's like Celeb, but with an A. So it's Caleb.
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 Yeah,
Caleb.
Regardless of how you say it, is how you say it, right? Either or is accepted. However, his surname will just shorten it to Chuck for the purposes.
Chuck Kawena, you have got on loan for Aston Villa.
Chuck Humeka.
That's it.
I think that's what it's
We'll
pronounced.
go with that.
Yeah, you pronounce it well. So
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? Instantly, people have called him out for being shite and bang average. The guy's literally just arrived. Like, he played, 15, 20 minutes or so against Dundee? A couple of touches and a couple of flashy kind of points where he turned the defender and managed to get a pass off. However, when he takes off on a run and goes dribbling, I don't know why, he just seems to be susceptible to be tackled, and he just gets up and goes.
It's like that, mate. But he's like that. He's skinny as anything can.
He's fairly skinny. But he had a couple of shots against Dundee. Didn't really come to much. You can tell he's not at the races yet, but it'll take time. I think once he gets a few games, he'll be all right. He'll not be quite the flop that Jet was, but I can see him scoring maybe 1 or 2 in the next few games. But again, he needs a service. And also, the shock signing today, I went all patriotic stars and stripes because we've signed Esteban. My glasses are shit. Sebastian Soto. And as soon as I heard that name, I was like, I know that name. And I was like, I'm positive it's that American kid that scored against Panama in one of the random friendlies that I watched in BT Sport during the lockdown. And I was fucking right. What's that?
The guy who relay.
Aye. But he's now signed on loan from Norwich.
Decent. I've seen that.
So I'm looking forward to seeing him. Hopefully he gets a few run outs. And also, finally, in my notes, probably Morgan Boys.
From Liverpool.
20. Yep, centre half. So if, of course, Fitz fucks off for 100 million, 1 million, sorry.
It'd be like 100 million in that Liffey boardroom.
Yeah, mate. True. Never mind the fucking things that Rangers were spending before 2012. Never mind fucking face paint and shit like that. Cunts will be coming. Davey will be on it. Strippers galore. Everything, man. Club F will be getting reopened. Fucking everything. The town will get taken over.
Club F is reopened.
No, I mean like properly reopened. Like back in the day. Back to around Circle Walk. Fucking. We'll have a tube system and everything directly to the stadium.
Slaney, show me where you push for.
And as much as he tries, I hope in this transfer window Sean Kelly finds a new club. Like
he's not
his
good
level,
is he?
No Premier League level.
He's Championship and below, mate. Used to play for St Mirren, eh?
Aye, but he played for Falkirk as well in that team. Was it 2 seasons ago? Get
him to fuck.
And he just wasn't to the races at all. Which reminds me, not directly talking about Livingston, but we'll talk about Falkirk. The demise of Falkirk is beautiful. However, we've lent him an Irish god.
Jays
Kabaya. Have you seen his goals for the weekend? Fucking took them exceptionally well.
What did you call him in a previous podcast, Paul? A prime Messi?
I believe it was a prime Maradona, to be fair.
It was a Maradona.
Yeah.
I knew it was an Argentinian god, come on.
But there he was more like Lever, to be honest, more like a Polish, like an Irish Paul that we all know, not an Irish Paul, wait a minute. A Polish guy we all know, Lewandowski. That's, take these chances, burying the ball away in the back of the net. Aye. I don't know why we put him on loan. Like,
Nice game, mate.
Aye.
Just get him game time, mate, because you've got Noble back from Arbroath.
Nobly. How the fuck do you say
Nobly.
his name? The big guy. I swear to God, right? Big Obi at the back. He's like 6 foot fucking hunter, right? He's a big laddie. But see Joe Noble. Jesus Christ. His skeleton's like out his skin. Like fucking massive, man. No, he's not like massively built, but height wise. Like,
is he huge?
Like Peter Crouch type. Like Peter Crouch type.
Aye. Pardon me, but against
He's got to be a
Dundee-
big miss for Arbroath, eh?
Aye.
He's got to be a big miss for
He seems
Arbroath.
to have replaced him with that other boy. I can't remember his name, but he seems to be doing okay. And not against Dundee. He came on against Ross County in the cup there. We won 1-0. OB's penalty. The game was horrendous. It was dire. It was not for the skeptical.
Doesn't matter, mate. Doesn't matter. You're throwing the cup.
Through. But I'll tell you something though. See when Mobley got the ball and he was driving at defenders. Oh, I was like, the fucking freak of nature, man. Like literally ripped about 4 players' arseholes just in this one move, and then the game just kind of went to a standstill and it just became shit. Like even more shit than what it was. But no, he's definitely somebody to look out for in the future. Most definitely. If not a goal scorer, definitely a goal provider.
He done well at Arbroath. That's the one thing I do remember keeping an eye on Arbroath. He was doing
Got
really
his
well
5
there.
goals, and he was always involved in the goals. That's what they're always saying. He may not have scored all, but he was always
I'll
involved.
be like, it's what people go on about now is like goal involvements. Like, I seen some stat about Boyce in 60 games, he's got 47 goal involvements, 30 goals and like 17 assists or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some stats. Another thing to say about Livingston, I don't know if you've noticed on Twitter about the banter between the WWE and
I've seen it.
Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
Is it Matt Hardy?
The Hardy Boys, yeah.
Matt Hardy, yeah. I tell you something,
He's
see when I
not
seen it.
WWE anymore. I'm just going to correct you here, right? He's not WWE enemy. He's in that
AEW now, so yeah.
Shit
Is that the old WCW? Aye.
Basically.
Aye. I
Basically.
used to watch both of them when I was a kid, man. Goldberg and that, and then obviously had Stone Cold
Same,
Steve
yeah.
Austin, Rocky, etc. on WWF.
Yeah, Cartoon Network after 9 o'clock, go to TNT, you just watch Oh yeah, I remember those days, man.
We live in the 90s, boys. What a fucking time
Yeah.
to be alive. But aye, like that's the kind of part you like to see, man. Definitely. Especially when the Hardy Brothers were like my favourite like duo when I was a kid. So when I seen that, I was like, this is fine. It's like the Baba and Don, it's coming at my bit. But no, Stefano Mionga and Jason Holt have, like, really, even though it sounds cheesy, they've been one of the best double acts that Livingston's had. Obviously, you've had the triples in more than one way. You've had obviously the triplets, the Jacobs brothers, and of course you've had the defenders at the back, Gallagher, Halkett, Lithgow, which brings me to another point we were actually discussing in one of our group chats as well. I've got 2 or 3 group chats associated with Livingston. But Declan Gallagher, he's not getting a game at Aberdeen. Bring him home, man. Bring him home.
He's going to end up at Dundee, mate.
That's not his real home. I know it's his real home, but it's not his real home. We need to bring him real home. Tony Max, that's it, man. That's his fucking club, right?
Mate, do you want to cancel? See the fact you call your stadium Tony Max. I know a reason to fucking hate your club. I'm going full Liam Corbett on this, isn't I?
Yeah.
I'm going full
the
Corbett on this.
The worst thing ever is I hate that title. And I always call it the Veil. I never ever call it anything else other than the Veil.
You just called it
and
Tony
I've just
Max.
called it the Tony Mac. And I smelled when I done it. Why?
I'm going to clip this up and say I'm going to clip this up and send it to Corbett.
I'm in for a long night.
Yeah, this is getting edited tonight. I'll get edited tomorrow at some point and put it.
Well, whenever it comes to making it, it's going to be a long night. But I think that's pretty much it for the terms of Livy.
Going to get right on it because I kept an eye on the game last night, knowing we had the podcast today. Birmingham City 2-0 down and rescue a point, Sean.
Yeah, I think there's people have gone to court on robbery charges for less. Because by all accounts, it's a fucking shambles that we've got a point out of it, and then missed an absolute sitter to somehow win the game. But yeah, I mean, I know every football fan in the world says, "Oh, it's just the way so and so do it," or "Why does so and so have to do it the hard way?" But I do genuinely believe that there is a Birmingham City way of teams breaking certain voodoos and fucking bad records. And Peterborough came last night on the back of 12 straight away defeats. And you're just looking at it going, you just know what's going to happen here. But the manner in which they went 2-0 up was abysmal. Like the first goal, we were allowing a lad to run through. Yeah, I mean, like if a player
let it through, man, that was like, Simon, why you let it through? I'm like, what are you doing?
It's like if a player picks the ball up in the centre of the park and he goes on a bit of a mazy, dazzling run, and you think, "Fuck me, that was good," but he's not. He's just parted. And it's like he's looking at the space in front of him thinking, I'm going to get clattered in a second, and nobody's done it. But yeah, I mean, it's a welcome point because it was a shit trio of games between Barnsley, Peterborough and Derby next. So if we were to end up 5 out of the 8, then it's not 5 out of the 9, sorry, then it's not, too bad if we were to get a point on Sunday. But they're in better form at the moment and they seem to be a better side than us. But there's a lot going on there this week. And, a lot of rumours gathering that Sunday might be the last game they play as Derby County as it happens. But
yeah, it's a joke at the moment what's happening there, and they need someone to save.
Yeah, I mean, we're just in a terrible no man's land at the moment. We've got there's fights with the owners. There's elusive owners where nobody quite knows who they are. And on the pitch, Bowyer's starting to be questioned now. He's game management and substitutions, and the questions start to raise now: is it always the board's fault? He's putting players out and not maybe doing it, but it's difficult. We've got a team that looked quite settled. Sanderson at the back, Riley McGree in there. We've got players that seem to, be okay and to be doing something. And then the next thing they're all, they're recalled from their loans because there's no other option, is what they're being told. And then they're signing for other clubs. And it's just like, well, obviously there's even less money there than people thought. Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether you'd have seen it. I'll send you a few links if you haven't. But they published the photographs last week as to the actual damage to the structure in the stand, as to why that.
I did see stuff about it, yeah. Because
I heard that as well too. Yeah,
it's shocking. We spoke about it before about why the stands were closed, but the actual photos of the damage to the structure, it's amazing that the ground hasn't collapsed with when it's been full and when there's been big nights and there's been goal celebrations and whatnot. Often you felt the ground rock if it was full and there was a big goal and stuff. I love that about a football stadium. You can feel the sort of spring in it, but now it appears that you can feel a spring in it because it was ready to book. This is just a domino effect because it was built on the cheap when it was built. So instead of disposing of the rubble, they built on the rubble. So instead of getting rid of it, they just built on top of it. So they didn't have to get skips in, or they didn't have to go to landfill sites. So nothing was necessarily watertight. So over the year, the water has just eroded over it. Now, the biggest alarm bell for me was in an interview regarding the stadium, and an owner said, "Oh, it was built. Let's not forget, it was built in the 90s." And I thought, fuck me, there's buildings around that ground that were built in the early 1900s, let alone the 90s. So it looks as though sort of asbestos is found there, and it wasn't necessarily illegal at the time, but it was about to become quite the shitstorm. So it was about fill it in, build as quick as you can. And I think it was more Gold, Sullivan, whoever else that were involved in that. It'll be someone.
Gold and Sullivan,
yeah, what?
It'll be someone else's problem in the future, and it now is somebody else's problem in the worst time that it could be something.
Now you're saying that is a bit of a coincidence because I'm thinking they didn't want West Ham to stay at the Bowling Ground. They wanted them to go to the Olympic Stadium. Now what you're saying now, because I don't think there was nothing wrong with Bowling Ground because I've been past it so many times, a few times.
No.
There's nothing wrong with it. What I remember, there was nothing wrong with it. So yeah, it's a coincidence when you mentioned goal solo. I'm thinking now seeing the coincidence. What does you put two and two to sense?
Well, when they were at Blues, they wanted us to go to the Alexander Stadium.
Yeah,
and they wanted Blues to go to the Alexander Stadium, which is obviously over the other side of the city, where we wouldn't want to be. And then they got plans for a new stadium towards sort of Longbridge Way, which would have been an ideal location.
That stadium was going to be shared with the Warwickshire cricket team. Because I know there were talks. I remember that one. I do remember that part. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, over the time though, there's been some things happen. But I mean, obviously in the here and now on the pitch, things are very mismatched. And I think Bowyer's doing the best that he could possibly do with it. And we're just trying to stay afloat. But it is a real shame because certainly going back to the earlier podcast that I were on, we looked like we were going to be a real all-round unit. And we spoke about Tanif Chung. We spoke about Heaney coming in. We spoke about so many things that looked as though they were going to kick into this. Like you look at Blackburn now, for example. Blackburn's team to last season really isn't that different. But Ben Breton has found his Chilean status, his mum and whatnot, and he's now come back as Ben Breton Diaz, and he's got 20-odd goals by January. Like things like that, you just need an all-rounded. It can happen to teams, like Burnley came out of nowhere and went up. Blackburn now, Middlesbrough again. Football goes full circle, and I just felt that this season was football coming back full circle. That we were gonna break that top half and then look at going, and ultimately we've just fallen. But I think we'll get away with it. That there's going to be 3 worse teams again, and there's already been deductions down there with Reading, with Derby. I mean, look, Barnsley had a brilliant start. They're rock bottom, and that's what we're getting away with at the moment. And it's not for the want of trying, because you've got a player like Riley McGree, who was sold to Charlotte in America. And that's still an undisclosed fee. Yeah. He's come to Blues. He's turned a few heads. And Charlotte now want to sell him because they believe he's now got a price tag which is bigger than what they brought him from Adelaide for in Australia.
Oh, okay.
Bowyer came out in an interview and said, our hands are completely tied. He's getting recalled. He's going back, period. There's nothing we can do about it. Yeah. It doesn't take a rocket scientist now to look at the reason why their hands were tied was because he was offered to Blues for X amount of money and we clearly didn't have it because 2 weeks later, he's been offered to Middlesbrough and he's been offered to Celtic. Yeah. Obviously we heard straight talking Hans Postecoglou, what he said about if he doesn't want to be here, I don't need to chase players. I think Middlesbrough's a better fit for him anyway, game time wise. But I really highly rated him. So it was a sad, it was awful to see him go. Then you've got a good centre back in Harley Dean. That's completely turned sour. He's going to Sheffield Wednesday today.
Yeah, I saw that news. I saw the news today on,
Then you've got Dion Sanderson. Well, you've got Dion Sanderson who's doing well. And Wolves have recalled him and loaned him to QPR. And the rumour mill at the moment is because Wolves don't want him in a relegation battle.
And you've got what? Ted Mengi, who's 19, who's played 6 games of Pro League football.
It's difficult. But I do like the certain realism from the fans that they are looking at the manager saying, well, actually, I know what he's got, but it would be better if he left him and him here on 70 minutes as opposed to changing Sunjic for Gardner. But then Gardner comes on and gets the first goal last night, and then we go in and get an equaliser. So you're thinking, well, these protests are going to continue against the board. This isn't going to go away. That's 2-1. These protests are going to be there for a very long time. Liam Boyce has just scored.
I said earlier he doesn't score against Celtic.
Not going to get any better. I think there was a big hint of offside here, but I'm not sure. I'm just watching it again. Not a foul on Starfelt, but he's just a bit too weak, to be honest. VAR would call him offside, but you don't have it, and it's marginal, so it stands. You just got to get back to it now. But yeah, Blues-wise, I think that I think you're going to see a lot more Blues in the media. It's gathered a lot more attention from the likes of TalkSport, Sky Sports, and stuff like that.
What's been going on at Derby, which I've listened to the thing. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Derby does. I don't want Derby to fall, but if it does, then you're going to hear the next door is going to be Birmingham. I'm thinking, what is going on in the EFL? If what happens if Birmingham does not get them sold, what happens with them? Because with Derby, would I have to now put the relegation places so it'll be 2 relegation spots rather than 3?
Well, that's it. Where do you turn? It's going to be catastrophic. But I mean, this is like a whole series of events. When Birmingham City was sold to a bloke who claimed to have 80-odd million £. Yet he was a hairdresser.
Yeah.
Nobody knew where his money came from, how he got his money. But effectively, Gold, Sullivan and Brady brought the club from the Kumars for £1. They sold it for 80 million. Along the way, they made comments that Birmingham City was a stepping stone. West Ham was where they wanted to be. Now, the biggest question in it all is Carson Young, in the latter years, was then put onto house arrest and convicted of money laundering. Yeah. In the middle of that, we've done something that Birmingham City aren't known to do, which is we've somehow won a trophy. So in the first season of this ownership, we've won a trophy that he's
won the League Cup.
Yeah, and these owners are then thinking, well, this is what it's like all the time. So the money's coming in, but then the money laundering's obviously there. He gets arrested. I don't think it's any coincidence that the fit and proper tests were passed. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the FA allowed it to happen when a certain Trevor Brooking is on the panel at West Ham and at the FA at a time when West Ham are about to be brought by Gold, Sullivan and Brady, English investors, UK companies that have then got these massive aspirations for the Olympics, Olympic Stadium. I don't think it's any coincidence that his fit and proper was passed. And since then, it's been receiverships. And then these receiverships have notified and identified Birmingham International Holdings as there was 2 companies going for Blues. And apparently this company that got us were the most viable of the 2. So you'd hate to see what the other company were bringing to the table. Because we've got who's at the top that nobody knows who he is. Nobody can find him. There's no status reports on him. There's no records of him. There's no status of him owning another company. And then a couple of weeks ago, you've got the credit card reports published by somebody who I know, Dan, really good friend, goes by the name of Almajar on Twitter, really knowledgeable. He was actually at the Carson Young trials. He's written a book, Haircuts and League Cups, about Carson Young and stuff. What he doesn't know about the Blues ownership simply hasn't happened. You know, he's managed to get these credit card reports where Dong Ren and Edward Cheng are paying for their Amazon Prime and their Netflix through the credit cards of the club. They're spending £6,000 in Barcelona in 3 days.
Whoa, hold on, wait. They spent £6,000 in Barcelona in 3
£6,000 in luxury designer outlets in 3 days in Barcelona on the football club's credit card. And through all of this, the EFL are coming back to Blues saying, if you don't stop spend, so £26 million was budgeted for the club and £25 million was spent, leaving £1 million. Now, where that £25 million went in transfers falls between Harry Redknapp and then when Lee Clark came in, he had £1 million to play with. Was it Lee Clark? No, it wasn't Lee. Steve Clark. Steve Cottrell, sorry. When Cottrell came in and £1 million to play with and nowhere else to turn. And since then, we've kept spending money. And the EFL wrote to Blues many times and said to Dongren, you need to stop spending money. And he went back ludicrous reports. So it was no wonder they gave us a points deduction. And it's no wonder that they don't hold the club in very high regard because of all that he was giving them.
So this is the thing. This is what I don't get. So we have Derby, who needs going out of business. Birmingham's been using the credit card with that £1 million in the bank. Yeah, and rumours I said to Andrew a few weeks ago that Huddersfield, the owner Phil Hodgson, his business is in administration. His pure business is administration. So what the hell's going on with these EFL Championship clubs? And why has the EFL done nothing to let this happen and they're asking the Premier League to pull the money down? And they're not telling us the truth. What is the bigger truth? Are we trying to help?
Even just now, as far as Sheffield Wednesday with their owner, things like that. Like the EFL, the Championship as it is looked at, especially all over Europe. Oh, it's the best. It's a brilliant league. It's a terrible league because the football's shite, and everyone can beat everyone because the football's shit. That's the top and bottom line. It's entertaining to look at the scores. It's not entertaining to watch. Yeah, but you'll find that them games they're either top playing bottom. Because anything can happen, or you're watching the playoffs. So that gap between the Premier League and the Championship is so big that anybody that falls below that is sort of slowly being forgotten about, and the Premier League is becoming such a web of money that these things are. The FA are almost saying to the EFL, "You deal with it," but they're still dealing with the Premier League. So all these things are being left, and these owners are managing to get into these football clubs like Derby and Blues, even so much Reading, Sheffield Wednesday, and they're getting away with murder where it's playing with people's lives because its jobs going, its livelihoods going around the ground. Like a club like Derby County shouldn't be looking at, are they going to play their final game in January when the season's supposed to end in May, and they're going to be excluded from the league. It's crazy to think that this is happening.
It's lining the pockets of the right people. It always has been. Football's a dark spider web. It really is. I mean, how the fuck this is on a massive scale, right? But see if the Glazers walk away from Man United, right? We are going to end up a Derby County. And I'm not shitting you, right? Their debt is not attached to them. It is attached to the football club. Right, they took out a fucking Wonga loan to buy Manchester United. It wasn't a Wonga loan, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. See if they walk away, we're fucked. By the way. See if they walk away. See if something happens, right, and someone goes and actually looks at the Glazers, right? We're fucked. But see, because Man United is such an international conglomerate, right, that we literally could finance world hunger.
Yeah, you can.
You know what I mean? Right? But those parasites who run the club are taking bonuses for creating debt, right? And since then, right, since they got in, they've stopped those sort of owners coming into the Premier League, right? But they've got a problem with... I've got a bit of a problem, looking at lower league clubs, right? And I look at the likes of Derby, what happened to Bury, who's that team Robbie Savage has started to redo? Macclesfield. Right, Macclesfield have been reborn.
You can put Halifax Town as well, because
Halifax.
Yeah,
Halifax Town. It nearly happened to Hartlepool a couple of years ago.
Bolton Wanderers
all
as
the
well lately.
Bolton Wanderers, Blackburn.
Steadily coming back.
You look at Blackburn Rovers with the Venkies, right? They didn't even know about relegation when they took over.
No.
And I just look at some of it and I'm going, it's just crooks from top to bottom. And it's took this happening to Derby County, but because it's Derby County, it doesn't matter if it's Derby County or fucking,
Braintree,
fucking Pomfrey Juniors.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter. These are people's livelihoods. You know what I mean?
Hearts have got a penalty here, Karl.
Shut up. It's going to be 2-2, isn't it?
Hearts have got a penalty, handball given on young O'Reilly, which, to be fair, O'Reilly's come in. I think he's been really good tonight. Boyce is coming on the header. It's a brilliant header. The sort of technique's not great, but it's a header down. It's where he needs to put it. But it's came off beat on, and then it's his hand. But it's harsh. I mean, I don't know. You see him given. It is harsh, but 2-0 is just it's the most dangerous scoreline in football. We all know this. The ultimate.
How much we spoke about it.
Because that one goal back gives you hope.
Oh, he's missed. He's hit the post. He's hit the post. He's hit more or less the inside of the post. He sent out the wrong way, and it's come back across goal. how that hasn't gone in off the post is mental.
That is
It's nearly hit Joe Hart on the way through.
If he knows that Hart was going to go the wrong way, he knows that he could have changed these degrees of his footage so he could score.
I tell you, it's inches away from hitting the other post as well. That's the finest of margins that you're gonna see there from a penalty kick. But
yeah,
we breathe again. I think just going back to what we're saying there about Derby, the thing that came into my mind before the penalty is this Derby County situation has obviously got the massive thing where they've dragged. Well, I say dragged. There's another club involved in the same league, which is Middlesbrough, because of Steve Gibson. And you just wonder is this what's turning heads a little bit more so than anything else? That it's now the integrity of the league that's been brought into.
Yeah, I was about to think that. Yeah,
and you're thinking, well, it's very annoying because I've just gone and got the article there that I was telling you about. Like when Don Gren's writing to the EFL and they're telling him to stop spending money. If any of us did that at our jobs, you're failing the company that you're working for. So you're going to be pulled in. You're going to, why are you dicking around like that? He was given a pay rise to £177,000 a year per annum with £43,000 in allowances. And this happened not once, but twice. But nobody knows where this was signed off for. So the EFL are liaising with a man who they think his demands are ludicrous. And they're telling him, you need to stop doing what you're doing. Yet they're then not looking into the day-to-day running of the club to see, well, if he's trying to pull the wool over our eyes, who's stopping him at his own club? And within that time, he's gone from £120,000 a year to nearly £190,000 a year in 2 pay rises.
They're just lining as I've said, they're just lining the pockets of the right crooks.
Yeah, it's just, and obviously he's in there and, he's obviously high up enough himself that he can sign things over and he's getting a pay rise here. After he left the club, he stayed in his London flat, which the club apparently passed off, for 6 months without paying the rent. And the club had to then pick the bill up for that because the club was on the lease, not him. It was the club's name on the lease because it went through his allowances, you see. And he moved from Birmingham to London to be closer to his girlfriend. Yet, again, nobody at the EFL that's liaising with what looks like a complete, utter raving fucking lunatic that isn't listening to the company saying, you're going to get your team a points deduction if you spend any money, and then we sign Christian Pedersen. They're not looking at anything around it to say, well, hang on, what's he doing Monday to Friday then if he's this much of a knob to us?
People just aren't doing the homework, are they?
No, not at all.
And quite clearly the likes of him, Mel Morris, you got to look at it as well. Wickham are in this as well. You know, Derby should have been relegated last year, realistically, because they should have got their points deduction last year. And Wickham went down on what was it, a point or a goal or something, a point or a goal or something, which, if I'm right, is Paddy Roberts who scored. In the last game for Derby County
against Sheffield Wednesday, who went down.
Yeah.
That day, it's.
I mean, Rooney done a great job there, right? Not taking anything away for the job Rooney done, but the people above him are absolute crooks. And hearing he's bought so much for like the training facilities and all that because he wants to keep. He's worked at Man United, he's worked at Everton. Played in United, the States. I think it was DC United they played for.
Yeah, DC United, yeah.
And he went and bought a drone so they could record training, off like all the posts and all that. Right? The people say, oh, but he's Wayne Rooney, he's got the money to do that. Shouldn't fucking have to.
I know.
You know what I mean? Shouldn't fucking have to. But because he wants the best for those players, he's working miracles there.
No.
He's lost everyone.
Then this the thing, it's like we speak about Brendan Rodgers earlier, saying he has a very easy job at Celtic. He goes out Monday to Friday. Effectively, you can flip that, where Rooney's got the hardest job Monday to Friday and the easiest job on a Saturday because he's got to keep them lads from looking at the league table. He's got to stop them from getting downbeat about where they are. On a Saturday, he just tells them to go out and do what they can do and any positive result is a fantastic result to reduce that deficit. And now they're not that far off it. And the thing is with the Championship, as we say, it's a league that you can build momentum in. And if you can build momentum and you can win games, it pains me to say it, but when Villa went up and they won 10 games, it's 30 points, 10 straight wins, 30 points. Teams will get relegated on less.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You know, Derby, you know, put together 5 or 6 wins, or, you know, they maybe put together a little unbeaten run with, you know, a couple of draws in there. They might find themselves out of it, but that Monday to Friday is obviously going to be very difficult for him. So I can see why he's doing everything he can.
His man management skills must be
brilliant, because it's not for him to be putting into his own pocket to say, well, I want training recorded, so I'm going to pay for training to be recorded. But, you know, it is a hell of a job he's already done. And we talk about Gerrard, we talk about Lampard, players like that that go into management.
Go and have a look at him.
Go and look at him, because he's very Roy the Rovers sort of stuff. He's on a tracksuit, he's there, he's rough, he's ready, and he's just digging in at the moment. And I do have a lot of respect for him in that regard.
I absolutely love him, mate.
I'm not a fan of Derby in any shape or form, but I've always liked Rooney. And I think as a manager, he's very much creeping under the radar, because there's names that suit a lot more because they've got more prestigious jobs media-wise.
Yeah. He's just done unbelievably well there, and see some of the style of play they're playing. I'm going, what are you doing? What are you supposed to do?
You're like a top of the Championship club playing that style of football, but you know.
And you forget Lampard managed them as well.
Yeah, exactly. Lampard managed them, 3 years ago.
You know, and you know, they're getting to the playoff final and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it is a good job. It's like you say, you wouldn't blame him if he put 10 men behind the ball, lumped it forward and said, go and nick every game you can 1-0. And we'll just go lose. And he's not. He's going out there and saying, go and scare teams.
I think, like, signing, I mean, some people won't know who Ravel Morrison even is, right? But he's actually, I think this is the most consistent time Ravel Morrison's ever played football for an actual club he's been signed for.
Ravel Morrison's definitely one of the best players that I've ever seen play.
Unbelievable,
when he played at Blues, there was, you know, Jesse Lingard as well was one that really sticks out at Blues. But for Ravel Morrison, even other players and friends that I've got that were a little bit more in the loop, and players say it about him, he's absolutely incredible. He's so naturally talented and gifted. But over his career, obviously, his head maybe hasn't always been in the right place. And that. But yeah, I mean, I watched him fondly at Blues. I thought he was absolutely superb. And again, you're saying about him at Derby now. Fuck me. He can do anything. He can do anything from that midfield.
Yeah. And to put context on it, Paul, maybe for yourself, right? When he broke through at Man United, right, his youth team was like Lingard, Pogba, Will Keane, Michael Keane, Ryan Tunnicliffe. Who was the keeper? I can't remember the keeper, but he was rated higher than Paul Pogba.
Who's this again? Sorry, I'm just reading.
Ravel Morrison.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Right,
he's up in jail and all that.
He's not ended up in jail.
Just not the same guy you're talking about.
Has he ended up in jail? Has he been to jail?
Being arrested, but
he could have surprised me. But yeah, he's been at like West Ham. He's played for QPR twice. Played for Blues. He's played for Cardiff. He's been at Sheffield United. He's been at Middlesbrough. He went to Lazio. Like,
and he went to club in Mexico as well. He went to
Club America.
Yeah, Tiger. Yeah.
And he's now, he's got his Jamaican nationalship. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Jamaican. Yeah,
he's now a Jamaican national.
Yeah, he's got his passport now.
But yeah, I just look at him and I just see bits of him. I'm just going, thank God someone's got hold of him and, done something with him, because I kind of like those rogue sort of characters.
Yeah. The only person who could keep him calm was Rooney.
As well as
it has to be,
Oh.
Yeah,
no.
just about in there. Scott Arfield.
1-0.
Fucking Scott Arfield.
Hey, scored,
no,
isn't it?
But
Listen.
yeah, it's 1-0, yeah.
Wasn't a pen.
76th minute.
It wasn't a pen though.
No, it was a cross in for Barisic.
Scotty Arfield, eh?
Yeah, right footed shot from the centre of the box to the bottom right hand corner. Apparently, he celebrated it like he won the World
so
Cup.
I think-
So if folk are kicking off.
Christian Doidge. That's why everyone's happy on Twitter. Christian Doidge just came on for Hibs. Probably come on and scored the winner. Big, beautiful Welsh fucker. But even if it was like, I've seen 2 management changes at both my clubs. Thank fuck Anthony Martial's finally left.
He's been a virus for you lot. He's been a fucking virus.
No, I wouldn't say he's been a virus. I mean,
well, this season he has.
He's not been fit. When he has been fit, he's looked like shit. I mean, he plays the ball into Cavani for Cavani to play the ball into Rashford on Saturday. So, you know, his last contribution as a player this season for Man United is half setting the goal up. So people have got to have a bit of context on it. But I don't know where this loan spell goes. I guess the loan to buy option's not there because we're going to have a new manager in the summer, and he'll probably want to rule the roost over him. But I'm going to suppose Sevilla would have first refusal on him on an X amount of fee. But see, on his day, that boy's unbelievable. Honestly, see that season he scored 23 goals. It was a joy to watch. Absolute joy to watch that front three there. Greenwood, Rashford and Martial. But it just fell away like everything else has at United. And even going on to Hibs, I'm delighted with the Maloney appointment. Delighted. I think he'll end up taking over for Ange at Celtic if he does well. Don't get me wrong, that's going to be. I think Ange is there I think Ange could be there for the long haul. However, which would suit me at Hibs because I would like to see a manager stay more than 2-3 years. Because the life expectancy at Hibs manager is 15 months.
Aye,
like our longest serving manager was Alan Stubbs in the last couple of years. And people hate me for saying this. Alan Stubbs is a failure at Hibernian.
Why he won the Scottish that you won?
He was a failure. He was a failure. He failed to get up 2 promotions when he should have. I know he won us the Scottish Cup and gave me maybe one of the greatest weekends I've ever had in my life, but he was a failure as Hibs manager. And when the going got tough, it was Tatam away to Barnsley or whoever he went to, because he was shagging the physio or something and got caught.
Yeah, whoa!
That's just. Listen, allegedly, I'm going to say allegedly at the end of that, right? That's allegedly because, you know, might end up having somebody for Hibs saying like, you can't fucking say that anymore. You know what I mean? Allegedly, that's what was going on.
Don't get me involved with it. Don't get us involved with it. This is on your.
Listen,
this is on you.
No, it's on me. That's fine. It's on me saying it. Listen, Jack Ross was shagging everything that moved at Hearts when he was there, so
yeah, that's a fair point.
He was a bit. To be fair, he's a bit of a handsome boy, Jack Ross. But on fucking Jack Ross, he can go fuck himself, right? And Paul kens where this comes from, right? I'm all for fucking backing players for moves, right? But saying it in the press is a fucking joke.
aye, about boys. Yeah.
About Boyle, right?
Yeah, Boyle. Aye.
But it's fine, man. Right? I'm fine with Martin Boyle going. Don't get me wrong. I was sore on Friday. It was sore. I didn't enjoy it. But at the money you're offered,
Aye.
mate, it's life changing. For a wee guy for what I think he's for Arbroath or Dundee.
Mm-hmm.
All the best to Boiler over there. You know what I mean? All the best. Just make sure when you're on your way back, you make sure you sign for us on the way back. And another thing, some of the stuff that supposedly came out about him saying, Jack Ross saying he ran the cup final for his bedroom and all this nonsense. Go fuck yourself, mate. Mate, you'll be managing Queen's Park while we go into Europe. Because that's supposedly his next job, Queen's Park. I don't know why they're appointing him. He's feared to play at Hampden. He's feared of winning at Hampden, that guy. He's a Scottish fucking Eddie Howe. Yes, I'm fucking stealing what Corbett said about him. It's fucking true, though. I'm bitter about it just because of what I've seen. And I just think that's wrong for a manager. I think you can have a bit of grace and decorum in your sacking. Just hanging on at the end there, Sean.
Pretty much. I've decided to just try and Giamakis decided just to try and lob Gordon from sort of the halfway line, just because the ball's pinged around a little bit. It's a short effort anyway, but he's off his line. But Matt O'Reilly's gone off. Superb showing from him, to be fair. He's gone off with cramp, probably the worst cramp I've ever seen. Like he literally couldn't move. He's probably one of the first players I've seen get stretchered off for cramp. But he managed to hobble off, much to the delight of the crowd at Tynecastle Park, thinking he was time wasting. But McCarthy's came on for him, and you just want him just to sit in there now and just break the play up and just get through the last couple of minutes, because we've had a lot less of the ball in these last 10 minutes than we have all game, to be honest. So, and a lot of corners coming here for Hearts as well. Noise levels rising, and just about getting out of it now, I think. But we'll see.
No, I just seen your face and I thought, oh no, what's going on?
Yeah, no, it's getting a bit. It's just getting a bit pinball-like in the area, and we've already had that once and given a penalty away. And you're gonna get the kitchen thrown at you here. And there's gonna be about 5 minutes added on. I would have thought. So yeah, I would have thought there's going to be a fair few minutes added on. But just to go back to what you say about Maloney as well, I think we're now of an age, probably sadly, that we're watching players now that we grew up watching.
Yeah.
Now going into management, and it's a difficult crossover for us as well, because we remember them as players. There's 6 minutes added on here. We remember them as players. So you think, well, he won't be very good and he won't be very good. But actually, it's an exciting appointment to bring someone like Maloney in, because you've seen the likes of Rooney, Lampard, Gerrard. You see these players now are going into management, and you're thinking, this is that new age that we're going to be looking at. They're now of that generation to be going in. And it does bring a bit of a feel-good factor. And I mean, he was never going to really take charge of the cup final. It's unfortunate timing and whatnot in that respect. But like going forward, I think it could make for a very interesting ending to the season for Hibs.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see sort of the fruits of the labour of his system and his training. I mean, a lot of Hibs fans are fucking complaining, but watching you, half the Hibs fans are a bunch of bitches anyway. And fucking come at me for it, so can I give a fuck? For it, I didn't give a fuck. You're a bunch of bitches, a lot of yous, right? Maloney's been in the door 6 weeks, right? To change the whole style of play for Jack Ross, which was Mr. Anti-Football, right? To change a team to play proper football on the ground, most people will know it's going to take a while.
With anything, you get new managers in. The one thing you have to give a manager, which seems that teams are very reluctant to do in some respects, is time. Yeah. You can't always give them money, but you need to give them time. But because in football, time is money, as in a lot of things, but because time and money are so precious in football, teams start to shit the bed. Get them out because the tide's turning. But if teams looked at their average attendance and what they took in, week out, I bet it doesn't differ that much if a manager has a bit of a stinker.
Yeah.
No.
it's not going to end a football club keeping a manager. You know, if it went on for 6 months or so and the signs are there and you're hearing about him being on the piss in town or he's in this strip club and that strip club or whatnot, there's a line. But a manager who's trying, it was very similar to Zola at Blues. Zola tried, it just didn't work. And I don't think he's cut out to be a manager. But you can't sometimes, you have to afford managers this time to go in and put the wrongs right from the previous boss, or at least allow them to have some sort of a system that you might be able to implement. And I think you can, you know, we are very quick in football now to just get rid of things. I mean, I think you spoke about the average shelf life of a Hibs manager is about 15 months.
Yeah.
The average shelf life of a Watford manager is about 15 minutes. And it's just,
that's outstanding, mate.
But it's a crazy thing to think that there's such panic. And I think Ange Postecoglou is a really good sort of example of a board that realised we don't have any more time left because things are so bad in the you know, Lennon was a fantastic servant for the club, both managerially and as a player. But it was a shit season in a really terrible time for the whole world. So it got to a point where there was no more time to give. So you've got to let Ange go and have the first 6-7 months. And fortunately, it's gone really well. But has that been eased by maybe the board having that conversation to say, you're under no pressure here? I
don't think there's pressure on him. I've got dollars for that. It can't be.
You know, because and that's why I hope that Maloney gets a good stint at him. So I hope he gets a good run at it because he was a likeable player. He's a talented player.
Unbelievable player, man. And unbelievable.
That footballing brain, you don't lose that. You know, some footballers, they don't go on to, you know, they don't go on to study at universities or colleges, or some footballers, it's all they've got from the age of 10, 11, and they put their whole life into it. And their studies necessarily go on the back foot. But their footballing brain, it conditions to just football. And some players start then into the manager career and they're just incredible for it. And you're never going to know if you're just going to sack somebody after 8-9 months at a time because you're not where your fans think your club should be.
No, I totally agree with you. It's just, I get annoyed probably pretty easy on fucking Twitter. That's probably why I didn't, like, unless it's about a podcast being released or something about music, I really didn't get a fuck who. Like, I just didn't reply. I didn't comment on things. I didn't get into it with people because I'm like, this is fucking boring. And I'm going off on a fucking rant here a bit. But people didn't realise, like, going for Lennon to Ange as well, right, is flipping it on its head. Ange wants to play football on the ground. Lennon was quite reactionary, and I always compared it to Jose Mourinho. With his football.
Win the game at all costs, isn't it?
Aye. Whereas Ange wants to win in a certain way, and I think Maloney's the same way. It's got to be perfect. You know what I mean? It's everything's totally changed, and people are like, oh, he's going to be another what's his name, Cathro. There's a difference. Cathro's a laptop man.
Yeah.
Like, Maloney's literally one of the best rated coaches in Europe. If anyone, you want to hear what Kevin De Bruyne and Yuri Tillmans have got to say about him. You know what I mean? Kevin De Bruyne is the best midfielder in the world to me. And if he thinks he's a good coach, well, we must be onto something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think bringing in Gary Caldwell, who knows Hibs upside down, spent time at the club as a player, is a shrewd, you know, part of the coaching setup. I know he played, 4 or 5 years for Celtic as well, wasn't it?
Currently 28 seconds over the allowed 6 minutes here.
Get that ball. Punty duty time, Castle.
No, that's it. Game over. Did allow an extra 30 seconds, but yeah, that's it. It's big from the start of the season. You felt like it was a team that had just came up. It was a bad time to go to Hearts, blah, blah, blah. Now it feels, even though you got players missing, that's what a manager can do. That's what that style of football can do. It can go there tonight and it can do something. It's a little bit nervy in places Probably not perfect, not quite as polished as you speak about wanting to win in a certain style, but it's 3 points at the end of the day.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, right, that's another 3 points towards Rangers. I know Rangers have won 1-0 against Livy the night through Scotty Arfield scoring.
We had a chance, 90th minute, of all people. Newbley put it down to Jack fucking Fitz fucking Water, and he put it back.
Skied it.
No, it apparently wasn't far away, but it's to the edge of the box.
Dundee United have beaten Ross County 2-1.
91st minute, that winner was 1-0 down as well.
Do you want to ken something? Get it up, everybody, for fucking Ross County and that racist cunt Malky Mackay. Can he fucking stand them?
You've got to add sexist as well.
Sexist, racist cunt. Did you want to know something? These results have been fucking pointless tonight. All of them. From Hibs' point of view. That's shite. Fucking... Ken, Aberdeen get beat last night off St Mirren, right? You think, right, let's go and get fourth place at Millwall. No. It's fine, we'll be fine. We'll get third or fourth. We'll get fourth. I have every faith in Maloney because I was at Maloney's first game and I was impressed straight away. Just the change of way of play. Yeah. Oh, fuck off. They were down to 10 men for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, so they had a man sent off. I wasn't sure how long they were down to 10 for.
Fucking 20 minutes, too. You can what's happened there, right? They've went down to 10 men and just stuck 10 men behind the ball. So who we brought on? Damien Mitchell came on. Dre Wright. Oh my God, Dre Wright actually came on the field. Why do people do that? It's not as if he's not went for it. He's brought on attacking subs. Doidge, Ewan Henderson, Dre Wright and Damien Mitchell. I'm not going to have a go. Because he's went for it, quite clearly. Doesn't always work out like that. It's two teams in a game of football.
True.
But no. Interesting night for football, Luke. That one.
Apparently it wasn't Fitzwater in the last minute. It was Ayo.
Who?
So it was Ayo, Oberley.
All right.
That put the ball past the post. So whoever's reported that before mob needs the eyes tested. There's a slight difference between Jack Fitzwater and Oberley.
Aye.
Oh, apparently there was 2 chances.
Still, one. Joy something, right? You did want to celebrate a loss, but a 1-0 defeat isn't as bad as what.
Well, it could be, but it has been in the past, aye.
So it's a step in the right direction, I guess.
Yeah.
But I forgot to say it in the last podcast, right? Well done to fucking our good pal Douglas Hill. 1.6k followers. 1.6k followers. I've predicted he's going to get 3k by the end of the year. I think he's going to get 3k by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Is that just on YouTube, yeah?
Aye. Still outstanding. 1.6k subscribers. All came for you inviting him on a bloody radio show, Karl. It's all your fault.
I know. Listen. I created someone who's going to be a little bit more bigger. So, listen, I did not expect that was going to happen, but yeah. So,
But
you know, if you
I will. On you
find
go,
it in the gym, you find someone who's in the gym, you know they're going to go all the way to the top.
He fucking is. But, boys, I'm going to call that a night on the podcast. Sean, thanks for coming back on, man. I think we've missed you.
Absolute pleasure, man. Absolute pleasure, mate.
It's even better when your team nicks that 2-1 minute time castle on it.
That's it, man. Sleep easy tonight and just worry about next week now for another week.
Next Wednesday, the big one, eh?
That's it, man. Might not be so happy the week today.
Listen, the big one's on Tuesday. It's Edinburgh
Yes.
Derby Day.
Yes, true. Yeah.
It's fucking Derby. It's Derby Day, boys and girls. Paul, you're dicking what this feels like, but it's the bit literally. The build up to this is just stiff nips, fucking everything.
No, it's funny. Every game day, that's me.
No. Listen, there's something different with the build up to Derby week.
Can you imagine? Just before we call it quits, that's very good. She's on, right? Can you imagine Livy had a rivalry, like had a derby? Like imagine Livy going up to Livy United to play them in a game. Can you imagine that? It'd be absolute raptures.
You should make it happen.
Definitely. I don't know how it's not even happened in pre-season. Like I don't get it. We've played Bathgate Thistle in friendlies. We've played Lithgate Rose.
He's played Bonus and everything, like Lithgow Thistle and everything.
Like why have we not played Livy United? Like how know?
Too scared of
what would happen. It was fucking.
He's get slapped.
It's probably that.
That's not worth the ripping you'd get though.
Oh, I know. Well, to be fair, mind that time we get beat off Lithgate Rose in the pre-season friendly.
Aye.
And half the Lithgate Rose were at our low knees.
I was right on the text like, aye, well, Lithgow Rose, aye.
Oh, me.
But PC, thanks very much, mate.
Thank you very much, Rogers. Thank you. Cheers, boys.
And Karl, as always, thank you very much for joining us.
Praise, man.
We'll be back next week. No 100% sure what day it's going to be because after this week it gets a bit everywhere.
A bit messy.
Well, that's the thing. It's getting a little bit messy.
It's gonna go a bit messy, but I'll let you know, boys. If you want to come back on.
Legend.
Cool.
Boys, Ask Me Football, bloody hell. Like, comment, subscribe, and do you know what? Come and hurl abuse at me on Twitter. I'm just going to laugh at you.
Get a share where you're at it, man.
I get a share as well where you're at it.